2 weeks remain in the SEC regular season. Weird slate this week. Anybody on upset alert?
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On SEC. It's great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Shout out to everydayers or free and available wherever you get your podcast on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the year with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you can get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com today to get started. As we do every week, around this time, we are joined by our buddy Chris Marler, host of the Locked On Gamecocks podcast and all the other ventures he does covering college football. And he's an SEC homer like us, so we love to have him on. Marler, how the heck are you?
I'm good, man. I feel like just because the internet sucks, we're doing this on my phone. I feel like that part in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when she's like looking at the camera like this in the theme song.
Right.
That's getting a lot of those vibes right now.
Yeah, that's good. I like it. It's like a 1990s music video that you're in. We got a lot of big games happening, or not big games, but like a lot of games this weekend that are like, you look at and you kind of get like a sour face when you look at it and go, why are those two teams playing? But still, as we know, there's been an upset just about every week of the season, the SEC. So somebody could lose this weekend. One game that just really intrigues me, and I'm actually going to be at this game, so this is why I want to start with this one, but it's 4-6 Kentucky at number 3 Texas, and it's the 2:30 game on ABC. It's really weird. Like, Texas just sent an alert yesterday. They're like, we are officially sold out. It's DK Royal, at its best. It's our last home game and all this. And it's really weird too, because they're like, this is probably the last home game for Quinn Ewers. And they asked Sark about it earlier in the week, and he like sidestepped. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to get into all that. I'm like, dude, like, how about you honor your damn quarterback who took you to the playoff last year? But does Kentucky have any chance in this? Because it feels like when they've played ranked teams at times, they have stepped up. They gave Georgia a dogfight. They beat Ole Miss, but then they've gotten blown out by, they let that game against Vandy get away from them and all that. I mean, any sell here on Kentucky to keep it close with Texas?
Dude, any given Saturday, no, not at all. Not at all. Mark Stoops, listen, I'm going to tell you this. The longer the season goes on, the more I'm starting to think that Texas really might not be as good as we think they are. And it's not because they have like a lack of talent or because they haven't played well at times or whatever, the record. It's they haven't been tested. The only time they've been tested, they got their ass kicked by Georgia at home by 15. So it's like, like the Michigan game was not their fault. Like when they scheduled that, obviously. But you look at the 6 opponents they've played outside of, or the 6 opponents, including Kentucky this weekend, that they have played outside of Georgia, they rank in the bottom 7 in the standings in the SEC right now. So I don't think Texas is as good or battle-tested as the committee's making them out to be. But here's the thing, man. Kentucky sucks. Kentucky just sucks. Like that, everything that we thought was going to be remotely good this year feels like a disappointment, not even just the quarterback. The big thing for me is Mark Stoops as a double-digit underdog in his career, 3-34.
Oh, gosh.
Not great.
So when they're picked to be bad, they're really bad. They live up to it. I guess that makes sense. I will say, though, Texas, their defense did just become, after this past week against Arkansas, and they did a good job of shutting down Arkansas and that Bobby Petrino offense, but they are now number 1 in the country in yards allowed per game. And we could say, yes, they had the worst, they've played the weaker parts of the SEC. They've avoided some of the better teams and all that. But still, to get through almost a full season schedule and be doing that, you're doing something right. So you got to give them a little bit of credit for that.
No, the defense is really good. And I think that Ewers is great at times as well. But like, I think the big thing for me is the fact that they're 9-1 for the second straight year, right? But out of those 9 wins, they've had 2 against teams with a winning record. 2 all season, Vandy and Colorado State. So I'm this isn't a shot at Vandy, but when Vandy is like your best win on your resume, I just need to see a little bit more. So, but yeah, I mean, the defense they've been great all year.
It will be fun though. I'll be there in Austin, and they got a bunch of musical acts. SEC Nation will be there, so get to see Jordan Rogers and Feinbaum and all those guys. Pitbull will not be there for this go around. He was there for the welcome to the SEC. I think Josh Abbott band will be there. So you ain't met my Texas yet. We'll get to hear that one.
I don't know who Josh Abbott is. I thought it was the guy that had one hand and pitched for the Yankees.
Yeah, no relation to Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, I think. He's a Longhorn guy. All right, quick hitters real quick on some of these other we've got some non-con games, some stupid cupcakes happening this weekend. Quick thought, UMass at number 10, Georgia. Georgia's on autopilot now, man. They've just played their best game of the season against Tennessee, or one of their best games. Carson Beck cut out the turnovers. He looked awesome. And now you get to finish with UMass and Georgia Tech. Like, Georgia gets to set it and forget it and go, look, whatever happens, happens. We think we'll go 10-2. If we play for an SEC title, great. If not, we'll probably be an at-large team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of self-sabotage and loathing that UMass is taking part in this year, but scheduling multiple SEC teams in the same season is quite a move. Just quite a move. Also, I'd like to have them formally, like, just the entire state should just be called UMass, because I feel like I have to spell this stupid word out in my articles like multiple times this year. I haven't spelled it right once. It's like Cincinnati, but with more T's. The game itself, yeah, a dual threat quarterback, Carson Beck, loved it, love it. I think the thing that's scary for everyone to think about is the hay is in the barn for Georgia, as long as they can win out, which they will. Georgia Tech is better than people realize, and especially if Haynes King is healthy. But Georgia's going to get healthier. They're going to avoid playing in Atlanta. They're going to get to rest and get healthier and start game planning with, like, with a couple weeks before they get into the gauntlet. But they've already run through a gauntlet, right? I mean, like, I think that the thing that we don't talk enough about with Georgia is not only have they played 5 teams inside the top 20 this year, 4 of them have been away from home. And that game against Tennessee last week was the first time they played a home game in a calendar month. So I expect them to be as vanilla as possible over the next 2 weeks, but I definitely expect them to win both.
It's interesting you said you don't think they'll play in Atlanta. So right now you think it's, what, the winner of A&M in Texas versus Alabama?
Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah. Well, all the Bama guys have been embracing it. What, Tyler Booker was like going out there in the next round saying, we won. That's our goal. Our goal is to get to Atlanta and all this. So I guess embrace it.
I guess. I mean, it's still a trophy game and a ring game and stuff like that. I want, like, big picture. I think it's, like, way more important. You've already seen in the last, like, year or last 3 years where you've won the SEC championship and then didn't win a national championship and got beat by Georgia doing it. Well, I mean, we'll see. Like, we'll see. But I do think that the one thing for Bama specifically in that game, if they play Texas or A&M, really, they're capable of beating both. But it would be a pretty great storyline if they can somehow win that game and then get the bye. I don't know if Boise would jump them, but they should be able to get the bye.
God, wouldn't that be something? We a few weeks ago, we're talking about Bama losing to Vandy, saying, oh, the dynasty's over. And suddenly we could be talking about them winning the conference, getting a first-round bye, and, like, my God, then it's on after that. All right, just a quick thought, real quick, 60 seconds or less on each of these. 2-8 UTEP at number 11 Tennessee. This is just the Vols. You got to bounce back, win these last 2 against UTEP and Vandy.
Yeah, I would love to see Nico throw the ball with accuracy deep. Like, listen, Samson's been incredible all season. I don't need to see anything more out of him. But I would love to see Nico try to get some improvement on the deep ball. Like, they just, I didn't realize a couple years ago how great Hendon Hooker was. I don't think any of us did. But I will tell you this: look out for style points. I think Tennessee's going to have to win by a lot.
Yeah, and look, Nico, he's got to get a little bit of his confidence back. So he should do that against UTEP. Probably be sitting by halftime. 5-6 Wofford. Or Wofford, however you pronounce it. I've always said Wofford, against number 18 South Carolina, the team you cover.
The Terriers, baby. The Terriers are coming in town. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is going to be a get Lenore Sellers out of the game as early as possible, start getting up for the Clemson game. I don't know anything about Wofford. I mean, whoever – I just need to know who came up with the mascot name, because there's just no way it wasn't a guy who either had an ascot or a monocle. Like, one of the two or both, a terrier. So, listen, Lenore Sellers, I will say this. you could make the argument that he's been the best quarterback in the SEC over the last month or so, including Jackson Dart. From a number standpoint, he has been incredible. 13 touchdowns, 2 picks in the last 5 games. He's been awesome.
Yeah, they're going to finish strong most likely and probably not make the playoff with the 3 losses, but certainly sets up for a big offseason. You know, they're going to lose a lot, but if they hit the portal well, and having Lenore Sellers just as a redshirt freshman, like, you should be able to track some people in the portal, O-linemen, receivers, and all that, and we'll see what Shane Beamer does. You blipped there. I'll fix that. 4-6 Louisiana Tech at 5-5 Arkansas. Just a quick thought.
I have nothing on this one. I would love to see Taylor Green protect the football. Protect the football. Like last week against Texas, you had a 2nd and 1, and instead of dumping down to a guy wide open the flat, you threw into triple coverage. Kid drops the ball, it's picked, and then Texas scores, and just like you're playing from behind.
Yeah, look, if for Arkansas, whether Sam Pittman's back next year or not, like this is your easy 6th win. This is your bowl win. Go win this one. You'll get to bowl eligibility, and then we'll go from there.
For it, baby.
Yeah, probably, unfortunately, or maybe Vegas. Las Vegas Bowl could be a good one. We'll see what happens over at Arkansas. All right, more to come here with Chris Marler here in just a second. But first, I want to remind you guys today's episode presented to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Look, Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more than or less than on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long over at Prize Picks. And now you can win up to 100 times your money over at Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks, the best way to get action on sports in over 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, Texas. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half, doesn't come back, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Download the app today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. It is Prize Picks. Go run your game. All right, as we jump back into it with our buddy Chris Marler, previewing the week of the action in the SEC. What is this, week 13 already? Goodness, time is just absolutely flying by. 2 weeks remaining. Let's get into some of the games this weekend. Let's start with number 23, Missouri at 2-8 Mississippi State. It's not going well for Jeff Lebby and company, but man, Missouri's starting to see some rust in the armor. I know that, look, they played their hearts out last week, still come away with the loss against South Carolina, but Brady Cook actually started to make some nice throws after he hadn't looked great for a couple of weeks and dealing with the injury and all that. And what was the other guy? Drew Pine had to play. But any thought on this one? I mean, Mizzou, this is one you can't let slip away. And if you're Jeff Lebby, you haven't gotten an SEC win yet. This would be a big one if you could pull it off.
Yeah, I think it would be the 2nd straight year, wouldn't it? I don't know if they won one last year. Maybe that was something else. Yeah, honestly, man, like 2 very underrated quarterbacks. Missouri's a lot of fun when Brady Cook is actually healthy, and also when they're not trying to throw the ball deep so often, because like his skill set doesn't go well with that. Like his whole thing is 8 to 15 yards and not dink and dunk, but I mean he's so efficient in that intermediate passing game. I thought he was great last week. I thought he was great at the end of the game against Auburn. You can't lose this game. That's a bad look for Mizzou. I feel like they're gonna be relegated back to the doldrums if they do lose.
Also, Mississippi State did win an SEC game last year. How dare you forget that October win at Arkansas 7-3? Remember that one?
Yeah. Okay.
We've all tried to erase it from our memories. Yeah, I like Mizzou to win here and try to finish strong here. Mizzou, that game against Arkansas, it's a rivalry game last week of the season. So win these last 2 and still a really strong season for Eli Drinkwitz coming off of that 10-win season a year ago. How about number 7, Alabama at 5-5 Oklahoma? Before the season, Marler, I looked at that one and said, man, that's a sneaky one for Bama late in the year. But God, Oklahoma's just been dreadful offensively. Defense, they're okay. maybe if they get a turnover or two, Jalen Miller doesn't play great. Maybe they can keep it close for a half or three quarters, but just feels like even going into a tough road environment at Oklahoma, Bama's going to win and win big.
It's weird because when this line came out in the summer, Oklahoma was a 1-point favorite over Bama in the game of the year lines that came out in June or July. It's now up to 13.5, which makes sense because Oklahoma has been awful, especially offensively. But it is a very tough environment. I think they had a week off last week, so they had a week off last week, right? So they have a little bit extra time to prepare. I think for some reason I just get this purple guys play with pride for OU and all that kind of stuff type of games. They have talented players. They have just not figured out how to put any of them in the right position, and they've also been beat up with injuries. First time since 2006 that Alabama was playing a Power 4 opponent before they play Auburn the following week. So it'll be interesting to see. Look, the one thing about Bama is they have not handled success well this year. As soon as they beat Georgia, they lose to Vanderbilt. It could be a bad thing.
That'd be really funny. Bama, we were looking ahead at Auburn. we played a bad game with Oklahoma. It's like this Auburn team's so bad. I get it's the rivalry game, Iron Bowl, but it's like, come on. Are you really focused on Auburn? Are you really looking ahead to Auburn? Well,
are you focused at all? They weren't against Vandy.
Yeah, that's true. We'll see. Speaking of Vandy, 6-4 Vandy is at 6-4 LSU, and it feels weird to say LSU without a ranking in front of it because normally it's at least number 13, number 16, whatever. And LSU with the loss at Florida last weekend falls out of the top 25 for the first time in 36 weeks. So Brian Kelly got some soul searching to do there, but for LSU, look, the fan base is pissed because it's even if you win these last two, you go 8-4. It doesn't get you anything. Get you a ReliaQuest Bowl appearance? It doesn't give you anything. But also on the flip side, don't lose to Vandy. I know Vandy's awesome and Diego Pavi has been great, but you almost, if you're LSU, you got to send a message. Hey, Vandy, you're still Vandy. We can't lose to these guys.
Yeah, I feel like I need to finally stop sleeping on the fact that this is the 7th time this season that Vandy is a touchdown or more underdog. They're 6-0 against the spread in those 6 games so far. 6-0. If they beat LSU, it won't be as historic as what they did against Bama, but it would be the 4th straight loss for LSU. And if they don't cover as well, if they lose, that means they also wouldn't cover. It would be the first time since 1990 that they would have lost 4 games in a row straight up and against the spread. Listen, night game, Death Valley, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out because I don't think Brian Kelly is on the hot seat right now, but if he loses this weekend, it's going to get real, real bad.
Yeah, and the big one for him is, you got the early signing period coming up in just, a couple weeks. You got the number 1 recruit in the country, Bryce Underwood. You've got to hang on to him. I know Michigan's making all these last-minute pushes for him. Wow, we'll see. Again.
Real quick, I know that LSU fans are the sky is falling right now, but here's the thing. Think about everything you had to replace, not just on the field with Jaden Daniels, the 2 receivers, everything like that, but also the 5 coaches you had to replace on defense going into this season, both coordinators, and then you come in with a new starter at quarterback. You had injured receivers all year. I think that this is the dark before the dawn type situation, because after this year, you get Bryce Underwood coming in, you can sign probably 5 stars, and that 2026 class is a generational type class as well.
Yeah, it's to me, it's you got to win this one. You got to get the top recruiting class in. You got to finish strong just to give some vote of confidence for next year. But to your point, I like the coaches changes they made. I like the defensive coaches. I just think they don't have the Jimmies and the Joes. They have to go out there and I know they've raised money for recruiting and all this, but they need a portal class a la Ole Miss and A&M this past year. Ole Miss and A&M are still alive for the SEC title because they brought in elite portal classes, and LSU's got to spend that kind of money. I know they may not have it, but you got to go raise it. You got to squeeze your fan base a little bit more for that money to go to get some elite talent in there. All right, more with Chris Marler. We'll preview the last 2 big games of the SEC week coming up here in just a second. First, I want to remind you guys, today's episode is presented by our friends over at Z Biotics. We told you guys about Z Biotics. If you're a tailgater, if you like to party a little bit harder, Z Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's that byproduct, not dehydration, that is to blame for your rough next day. Marler's had a lot of those. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this product down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best the next day. Again, best results. Make the pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Pace yourself, hydrate, get a good night's sleep, and then enjoy the next day. Wake up feeling refreshed and get ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege to learn more. Get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On College at checkout. Z-Biotics, it's backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/lockedoncollege. Use our code LOCKEDONCollege at checkout for 15% off. Today's episode also brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle all the action happening this weekend in college and the NFL with America's #1 sports book, because right now, new customers, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app, they're going to give you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL and college all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, go check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. And that's at FanDuel.com. Visit FanDuel.com today to join and sign up. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, one more segment with our buddy Chris Marler here on Locked On SEC, previewing the SEC Week 13 slate. Marler, two more games to touch on this weekend, and one that's kind of intriguing. Number 9 Ole Miss is at 5-5 Florida, where Billy Napier kind of feeling himself as of late. DJ Lagway, I'm telling you, is a star in the making. The future of the SEC looks bright, by the way. Marcel Reed, Lenore Sellers, DJ Lagway. Granted, they all got to stay where they're at and get NIL deals to stay there, but Florida, what do you make of Florida? Feeling pretty confident after that game, winning against LSU last week. I know Ole Miss is a much better team than LSU this year, it seems like, even though LSU beat them head-to-head. What do you make of Florida's chances against Ole Miss?
So here's the thing. I want so badly for Florida to get to a bowl game. Like, I think that would be just such an incredible story. We joked around last year, you and I did on this show and on radio and all that kind of stuff, that if Billy Napier won 5 games against that schedule, he deserved the Coach of the Year award. And here we are, he is going to win 5 games. FSU, he better not lose to FSU. But
he's got 5. He just needs a 6th, yeah.
Right. So I don't think that's coming this weekend. Ole Miss having a week off after seeing what they were capable of, seeing their own, potential of what they did against Georgia. I would assume that this is finally the spot where they are going to refocus, realize what's in front of them, because they can make a run. They are dangerous enough and good enough where they can make a run, and they're built for a playoff run. Lane Kiffin is 16-2 since 2019 when favored on the road. He's been very, very good. I don't think that Florida has enough.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to, something wonky would have to happen. I mean, what's crazy is you look at that box score, that LSU Florida game a week ago, and LSU beat Florida in almost every category, yet still, Florida won by double digits. It's how did that happen? It's almost got to be something like that, where at the end of this game, Jackson Dart throws for 300 yards, they rush for 100, defense has a bunch of sacks, but then you look and go, how did Florida win this game? Lagway is going to have to do something special. They'll need a special teams turnover or something like that. But I don't know, man. Swamp, weird stuff happens in the swamp sometimes. We'll see if they can keep it close. It's a morning game too. I wish it was a night game. Maybe you'd give Florida a little bit of an edge.
If you're Kiffin, I mean, listen, this is Ole Miss went to this. This is exactly where they were when they were in the driver's seat for the SEC championship in 2015. And they inexplicably lost on the road to Florida, later, a couple weeks after they beat Bama. It would have to be something crazy. But I tell you what, if the longer you let Florida hang around in this game, the more dangerous that's going to get.
Yeah, the line over FanDuel is still about 10.5 for in favor of Ole Miss. So If it gets up to like 11 or 12, I might take Florida plus the points, see if they can kind of hang around.
Yeah.
All right, last one. I know, Marler, like there's no like super sexy games this week, but I'm billing this one the SEC game of the week because almost everybody to a man has said A&M's on upset alert at Auburn. It is number 15 Texas A&M at 4-6 Auburn, who Auburn has not looked great almost all year. They are it's a night game though at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and weird things happen at night at Jordan-Hare. I don't know. I think Auburn can stay in this. The good news is they just beat the crap out of some slappy, and Peyton Thorne played his best game of the year. Cam Coleman went off, so maybe they're playing with a little confidence. But where are you on this game right now?
So I'm going to say it again. Find someone that loves you and believes in you, like Vegas believes in Auburn. They have been favored in 7 games this year. They're at home. A&M does not play well on the road. They haven't for the last several years in a row. It's not just the South Carolina game. They have not, like, you look at their road games this year. They played Mississippi State and they played neutral site against Arkansas. And there's another one I'm forgetting. Oh, Florida at the very beginning of the year. So they got wins in 2 of those against 2 of the worst teams in the conference at that time. I think Auburn has been so much better than any of us realize, because you look at like any of the numbers or like watch like how the game plays out. There are a couple of they're an Oklahoma interception. They're a Brady Cook, legendary moment coming back in Como, and probably one, like, just don't throw 5 picks, throw 4 against Cal. And we could be talking about a 8-2 or a 7-3 Auburn team instead of 4-6. They're 1-10 in their last 11 games as a home underdog. The last time they won was 2019 in the Iron Bowl. I think Peyton Thorne's been good. I just don't know if they have the offensive line to keep him upright for that full 60 minutes.
Yeah, that's the problem. That A&M defensive line is going to get after it, and I don't know. Peyton Thorne's got a little mobility. We've seen his wheels at times. So if he could do that, the other thing. Defensively, they've made a few adjustments. They've been playing some younger players. Who's the kid that Hugh Freeze was raving about earlier this week? DeMarcus Riddick. He was basically saying, like, when they started playing Riddick more, he's helped them against mobile quarterbacks. Oh, look, you play a mobile quarterback this week in Marcel Reed. So key one to watch there. Watch for number 16, DeMarcus Riddick. Kind of maybe, I don't know if you go as far as say spy, but like going wherever Marcel Reed goes.
Well, and listen, like, the thing with this Auburn team, they're going to figure it out. Like, there's too much talent at the receiver position. And even with Peyton Thorne, if he struggles, by the way, he's only had, I think, 1 interception in his last like 5 or 6 games. Like, he's been a lot better since that Cal debacle. But they're like Cam Coleman, the kid from Penn State that I can't pronounce his name or know what it is. I know there's a hyphen. And then like some other, yes, there's also some other young guys behind them. Like when the light comes on, it's going to be a real big concern for a lot of teams in the conference.
Yeah, and this could certainly be that week. I mean, this like we said, if this were an 11 a.m. game, I'm probably all in on A&M. The fact it's a night game, I think that fan base is going to ramp up and get ready. And A&M's still only a 2.5 point favorite on FanDuel. That's
man, thinks about that line.
Ugh. Smelly. All right, so if you had to pick one team to pull off an upset this week, who you riding with?
I mean, I hate to say it, but Vandy makes the most sense. They've been really good in that spot like all year. Like I said, like those numbers. I mean, they're 6-0 against the spread as a 7-point underdog or more, and LSU is kind of reeling right now, man. I hate it, but they are.
Yeah, no, and Diego Pavi has been awesome, and that's. I'm going to put it in my order of upset alert. I'm putting A&M and Auburn as my top favorite to be in the upset of the week. I probably would put Vanderbilt, LSU 2. And then my third one, I don't think Kentucky over Texas.
I think it's Bama.
You think Bama, Oklahoma? I'd go Florida over Ole Miss ahead of Oklahoma over Bama. I
just feel like this team has not handled success well. And they also have not played well on the road. So, huge win against LSU. Obviously played Mercer last week, which the committee was really impressed by. Moved them up 3 spots with good reason. That's a top 10 FCS school, brother. But yeah, like how are they are they going to be able to go on the road, handle everything, like handle their business, take care of business? Because the thing with Oklahoma too is like if you let them stay around and like lull you to sleep with this very awful, miserable offense, the same thing happened with Vandy where they just like played ball control and Jalen Miller just started, I think, like kind of pressing a little bit. And it's going to be a raucous environment. Also, last thing, Gordy, they have been so good all year on ESPN and ABC with the broadcast stuff, all season long, minus Greg McElroy. But tell me why at the 13th week of the year, in this slate, we have a 7:30, 7:30, and 7:45 start time for A&M Auburn, LSU Vandy, and Bama Oklahoma.
Yeah, that is kind of crappy. Why didn't they stagger that a little bit more? That's crappy.
Yeah. Glad you agree.
Yeah, they could have done a 7:15. Where's our late night games too? The hell with the Pac-12 being done sucks because how many Saturday nights has it been like I flipped on the TV at 11 and they're already doing like game recaps and stuff. I'm like, where's the late night games? Bring those back. All right. Well, I guess that means we need to pick up some West Coast team in the SEC and just have some late night games out there.
ACC. Just send Vandy out there.
Yeah, Vandy, you now are in Fresno, California. Go for it.
You are SEC Stanford, and you're a foreign exchange student now.
He is Chris Marler, host of Locked On Gamecocks podcast. Let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Locked On Gamecocks, Vern Dumquist on Twitter, Vern Funquist CFB on Instagram, and then LouisianaSports.net and ESPN in Baton Rouge as well.
All right, that's good to do for this edition of Locked On SEC. You guys have a great weekend out there. Safe travels, and I'll talk to you guys on Monday. We'll have our winners and losers from SEC Week 13 here on Locked On SEC. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Go check out Marler's podcast for your second listen of the day.